Ralts kinda sucks. While its eventual evolution Gardevoir is decent, Ralts is purposely weak. It's an investment. Unfortunately for us, that investment ain't gonna pay off. With a base stat total of just 198, 2 points lower than a Feebas, and 3 points more than a Wurmple, we're really not in for a good time. Ralts has decent special attack though. I mean, we're in a better position than if we were using a Feebas, though at least that thing has decent speed and special defense. For us, with Ralts, we're pretty weak on all fronts. The only thing working in our favor are Ralts' learn set and its move set, but it's not as great as you think because I've decided to make this run a teensy bit harder. At level 6, and we get Ralts at level 5, remember, it learns Confusion. Then we've got Calm Mind and Psychic coming around in the 20s. We won't, however, be taking advantage of Hypnosis and Dream Eater because it would simply trivialize the run. And if you think Calm Mind would trivialize the run, boy, have I got some news for you. Something else working against us is the fact that Ralts is in the slow level up group, and Ralts is rather weak. So my own future sight tells me that we'll have to level up this little thing quite a bit. But before we start, let's go over those rules. No items in battle, held items are fine, but we can't use things like potions, X items, etc. If we did, we can simply set up and sweep or stall out all our battles. Number 2 is no catching a wild Pokemon unless it's for HM Butler purposes. Number 3 is no save states in battle, but we will be saving between the Elite Four. It will become pretty clear why later on. And that's it, those are the rules, so let's get to it. Kicking off the game, we replaced Torchic with our Ralts. I do name it Wally with just one L, not because I forgot how to spell Wally's name, but just so we could differentiate them in the game of course. Swampert has the best chance of being a roadblock for us rather than any other Pokemon because it's just that bit bulkier. We do have to reset a few times to get a half decent Ralts, though I was more interested in getting the modest ability than anything else, and the stats looked okay at the time, as I later realised this Ralts had some trash IVs, but this is the best Ralts we've got. Now, Ralts, as you may notice, does not have any attacking moves until level 6. We've got nothing to use against Zigzagoon, and I didn't know, instead of being defeated, the Zigzagoon will simply flee from the battle. However, we've got no reliable way of inflicting damage outside of struggle, and given our poor attack and defense, we're really gonna have to pick our battles. At this rate, we're in no position to defeat May. I do give it a go with struggle, but that doesn't last long. So we're gonna ideally have to battle weak Wurmple or Poochyena until we're at level 6 and can eventually learn Confusion. With Confusion, battling May is much easier this time around. Oh, and Ralts comes with the Trace ability, allowing it to mimic any Pokemon's ability. Outside of a few very specific battles, this ability had much less of an impact on the run than I initially thought it would. What did end up having an annoying impact on the start of the game were Dark Pokemon in general. With Confusion ineffective against them, we can't even get past the first Junior Trainer. We're forced to rinse all of our Confusions and Growls until we can eventually take him on. However, what we need to be careful of here is not gaining too many levels, because we can't risk using up all our EVs in attack or HP, because in the starter area, it's only Ralts itself that actually provides special attack EVs. Roxanne's not as bad as you might think. Geodude doesn't have much special defense, but at our level and with our pathetic stats, Geodude can easily knock us out in 2 hits. Outside of leveling up, we can equip an Aurum Berry to give us back just a bit of health. A couple of battles later and we end up getting some pretty crazy luck. Against the first Geodude, Confusion does more than half, but so does its Rock Throw. Aurum Berry heals us a little bit, but we're not really going to last too long if Roxanne's other Pokemon get some hits in. We do defeat the first Geodude and out comes the second. After our Confusion against it takes this one past half HP, we get a Rock Tomb miss, which allows us to knock it out the very next turn. We level up, look at those stats, and are at 26 HP for Nosepass. Nosepass resists our Confusion pretty well and outspeeds us too, but we're more than happy for it to use Harden. Our attacks do about maybe a fourth or a fifth of its HP, which isn't great, but then we start getting some crits. I think we managed to get 3 crits in a row, which is insane. All the while, Nosepass is healing with his berry and Roxanne's potions. Eventually, we confuse it too, and a combination of that and our Confusion hands us the victory. Don't want to know the odds of that one. While we'll get to Brawley soon enough, one of the most surprisingly annoying aspects of Psychic Pokemon early game, which I didn't take into account, was how many times I would have to rinse all of my moves and get struggle. This becomes especially annoying when you've got moves like Growl, Teleport, Confusion, and Double Team for a combined PP total of like over 60 power points. Anyway, I'm not expecting too much resistance from Brawley. He is using Fighting Pokemon and we're Psychic. Admittedly, we're pretty weak, but we're in with a pretty good chance. At level 17, we're up against Brawley's level 16 Chop. We outspeed and go for Confusion, which does respectable damage. Karate Chop from a Chop doesn't crit though. I'd rather have used Bulk Up instead. Either way, another Confusion is able to knock it out. So we'll get Brawley's next Pokemon, Meditite. And Meditite will mostly go for Focus Punch, meaning this is basically a free battle. With 2 Pokemon down, we've just got the Makuhita remaining. I don't think it'll be too much of a roadblock though, it can often surprise you. However, Makuhita would rather go for Bulk Up than attack us outright, and we're more than happy to lay on the Confusions. And Brawley does heal the Makuhita a few times, but in the end, it's a first try victory against him. After some spelunking and handing the letter over to Steven, we're on our way to Mova, with just Mewtwo standing in our way. I first tried the battle at level 20, and Lombre's able to outspeed us and use Astonish, which does maybe a third, not great. And while Confusion does okay damage, I don't think we'll be surviving too long at this rate. We get into a bit of a back and forth until Wally is defeated. At level 20, it's not working, but in just 1 level's time, we do get access to the powerful Calm Mind. Calm Mind will boost our special attack and special defense by 1 stage each time we use it. Calm Mind's not an automatic win by any means, just look what happens when we go into battle with it. In order to bulk up our stats, we need to be in a position where we can actually survive the damage we take. In the case of Lombre, while we're able to survive setting up 2 Calm Minds, we're still not doing enough damage to make it pay off. We need to level up some more. Luckily, there are a bunch of trainers that I didn't battle, so we can reach level 23 fairly easily. Once that's done, we return to May. We get a bit of luck in battle this time. While we're setting up 2 Calm Minds, which should be enough, Lombre uses Nature Power Swift twice, which doesn't quite take us past half health. On top of that, when we use Confusion, Lombre gets confused and then hits itself in Confusion. The next turn, we can knock it out, so May will send out Marshtomp next. It's the second time I've seen the Marshtomp, and the last time, 1 Water Gun from it was enough to KO Ralts. This time, against all reason, Marshtomp goes for Bide. And because Bide is at minimum a 2-turn attack to store energy, and our Confusion does over half health, Marshtomp doesn't even know it's defeated yet. May's final Pokemon is Slugma. Our special attack is now high enough that just 1 Confusion and we do outspeed is enough to knock it out. Not as bad as I thought, though we were pretty lucky, but with Watson up next we actually might start to genuinely struggle here. With all that in mind, I decided to battle most of the trainers in the surrounding area and within the gym too. By this time, we've now learned Psychic. In this run, it's going to be our best special attacking move. Though Watson's Magneton will resist it, the plan is to have raised our stats enough so that we can at least 2-shot it. At level 29, I roll into the battle with Watson. He leads with Voltorb and chances are it's going to outspeed us. It uses Shockwave, which does about a third. On the one hand, we tank it well and only plan to increase our special defense. On the other hand, it has a tendency to paralyze, so that's not great. We take a Spark and then can easily KO Voltorb with Psychic. Next up is Electrike. We're able to tank a Shockwave and KO it with another Psychic, but at 11 HP against a Pokemon like Magneton, I'm guessing our time's up. Yeah, that one's gonna sting. The secret to Watson ended up being about timing. At our current level, Psychic doesn't KO Voltorb. This means it'll either be healed by Watson or you self-destruct, which is an easy KO on Ralts. And we can't really set up on Voltorb because it tends to do just a little too much damage. With a number of trainers in the surrounding area, we can at least level up a little to one-shot Voltorb. There's also Oddish in the grass around Moville, so we can focus on grabbing some special attacking EVs, which will end up coming in handy later. I try it again at level 31. Voltorb still outspeeds us and uses Spark. We get paralyzed but have a Cherry Berry just for that. We can then use 1 Calm Mind, which will follow up with Psychic. When Voltorb's down, we're left with 29 HP and Electrike next. We do end up outspeeding the Electrike and Psychic will one-shot it, but the real test is how we do against Magneton. Unfortunately, not only does Magneton outspeed us and use Shockwave, which we survive, Psychic isn't doing over half and we absolutely need it to. To get there, we're going to need a minimum of 2 Calm Minds. So what is the best way to do that? Well, it's not setting up on the Voltorb, that's for sure. Psychic will one-shot the Voltorb and we can get past it without taking damage. But how did we outspeed the Voltorb? Quick Blow. With it, we can get past the Voltorb damage-free. Then, Electrike has the tendency to mirror the type of move that you're using. When we start going with Calm Mind, Electrike will favor Howl to raise its attack, so I'm pretty sure it could obliterate us if it wanted to. Obviously, it's a roll of the dice on whether Electrike will attack often, but we do set up some Calm Mind and KO it. Magneton's going to be the true test though. We know it outspeeds us, or not. Quick Claw again, and it one-shots Magneton. We're at 31 HP, and on Watson's final Pokemon, the Manectric. Things are looking pretty good. We don't get the Quick Claw, but our special defense is a crit, of course. Well, I guess Watson was owed that one. It doesn't matter. We've got a pretty clear way forward with this, so things are looking up. Just 2 battles later, things go our way. Against Voltorb, we get that Quick Claw activation and KO it. When Electrike's sent out, I start going with Calm Mind. For some reason, Electrike keeps going for either Leer. I get cheeky and go for 4 Calm Minds, and it doesn't attack until I choose to attack on the 5th turn. I'll take that. But Magneton, is our luck going to hold out? We use Psychic, and yes, it absolutely does. Now, we're back to Manectric on 37 HP. I don't think its Shockwave will do much damage, but I'm not sure about its attack. All we need is just 1 Psychic. Manectric goes for Howl. We'll take that. 1 shot. Not bad at all, but you can easily see how much of a dice roll trying to set up Calm Mind can be, and it's only going to get worse from here on out. Maxie would have been a problem if we were still stuck with using Thief, a physical attacking move, as the only way to deal with Pokemon that resist psychic moves. However, after defeating Watson, we get Shockwave. This absolutely trivializes the battle for Maxie. However, Flannery's a bit of an unknown. Her Pokemon do have powerful special attacking moves like Overheat, and we are pretty weak, but if we can raise our stats, it may not be so bad. Even at level 37, 13 levels above normal, a crit Overheat one-shots us. Alright, let's try that again. This time, when we go for Calm Mind, Overheat does more respectable damage. We're able to set up another Calm Mind before going with Psychic and tanking a Magnitude, leaving us on 33 HP. With Slugma up next, I'm not expecting much. Even if it does attack, I doubt we'll take too much damage. I decide to go for a couple of Calm Minds. Well, it's determined to use Smog. Even when it hits, it does pathetic damage. With Camera up next, we should outspeed. Its speed is pretty poor, and even with our terrible base stats, we're able to get the first move. Now, we've just got Torkoal remaining, and its speed sucks even harder, so as long as we've bulked up enough, we've got this. Psychic hits and sweeps. Maybe this is the start of Ralts' ascendancy into godhood. Well, we've got Norman next, so that's doubtful. I don't know if 2 Slackings would have been more preferable than Norman's lineup in Emerald. Probably not, who knows? No, actually, it's worse, because we'd have Trace Truant, and I don't even want to think about that. First time in, it's not great. Though we are faster, if a Save from a Spinda does that much damage, Slacking will easily jettison Wally into the Shadow Realm. Though 2 Calm Minds probably less and 1-shot Spinda, we're not faster than Vigoroth, and it'll easily KO us. One of the problems is that at level 38, 1 Psychic is not enough to KO Spinda without Calm Mind. In an ideal situation, we'd want Spinda to use Teeter Dance because we've traced its ability. However, it rarely goes for that. On an occasion we make it further than before, Spinda will use Teeter Dance 2 out of 3 turns, allowing us to set up 3 Calm Minds. It's not so much the Spinda or the Vigoroth I'm worried about, but Slacking's god tier stat. At 49 HP, we can tank a slash from Vigoroth and reply with Psychic, but there's no points for guessing who's going to go first out of a Ralts and a Slacking. Yeah, we're not going first without Quick Claw or being a crazy high level. And the thing is, even though I go and battle pretty much every trainer I've neglected, because Ralts is in the slow level up group, we only end up gaining 2 levels by the time we return to Norman. Even when we return, our luck's not faring much better. We can't really afford to get hit by Spinda in the opening battle, because combined with Vigoroth's Slash, we don't have enough HP to survive 1 Facade and Slacking. But that's pretty rare. While we're consistently reaching Slacking, we're not getting the activation, so end up getting slapped into oblivion. So what do we do now? Let's see, shall we? Against Spinda, I've taken to starting with Psychic because I want Norman to use his Hyper Potions just in case. Spinda uses Teeter Dance. Great. We know the potion is coming, so use Calm Mind. I don't want to get hit, so I go with Psychic immediately after to KO it. We can tank a hit from Vigoroth in this situation, however, and that doesn't happen because we get the Quick Claw activation. It is a one-shot with the Calm Minds that we've already set up. Now, Slacking's next. We're just going to get a Facade and that's it, right? Well, Slacking will not always use Facade. Sometimes it'll use Yawn, and it'll do this if Facade isn't a guaranteed KO. And because we've managed to avoid damage this entire time, something we've yet to do, and we ended up going first, we're in a different, if not better, position. Because chances are, we'll be asleep for a while and Slacking will just use Facade then, right? Somehow, we don't stay asleep for too long. We wake up, use Psychic, and it just nearly knocks Slacking out. We're still at full health though. I know Norman has another potion. I decide to go for another Calm Mind, but then we're asleep again. Surely it's over now, right? But Slacking just keeps going for Yawn. I don't question it. I just pray. We do wake up. Psychic is able to take it over the halfway mark. If we just get one more in, we're good. We use Psychic, it's not enough. We're drowsy once again. I should have gone for Psychic, but I forgot that Norman didn't have any more potions left. Somehow we are still hanging on and have yet to be attacked. Slacking's still alternating between yawn and loafing around. Eventually, we wake, we use Psychic and end up defeating it. Well, Lanoon's next. I don't think it can defeat us and we should Oko it. It's obviously quicker and uses Slash. We tank it and even a crit shouldn't have KO'd us, but we definitely KO it. And that's Norman. Don't fancy trying that luck again. Just before we head off to Winona, I want to make the battle that much easier by doing the little power plant generator side quest, whatever it is, for Watson, so we gain Thunderbolt TM. With that, we've basically got our moveset for the rest of the game. Ralts really doesn't have access to anything else that's worth learning under the circumstances. After getting Sir, a bunch of the map opens up. I don't want to overlevel just yet and know I'll need to save as much XP as I can because we've got Tate Liza on the horizon. Winona is a bit of a joke though. Funnily enough, her most dangerous Pokemon is the Swablu because it has Perish Song. I do take the risky approach by going and setting up 2 Calm Minds against the Swablu so I can hopefully just sweep through the rest of her Pokemon. After we knock Swablu out, Tropius is up next. I thought Psychic would knock it out after 2 Calm Minds, but I guess not and it just hangs on. It goes for Solar Beam, so that is no problem at all. Winona doesn't heal, so we can finish it off. With Pelipper up next, it surprisingly acts out of character because I was expecting a Protect that never arrived. We one-shot it with Thunderbolt. When Winona feels Skarmory, it gets the same treatment as Pelipper. However, for Winona's final Pokemon, Altaria, I'm not sure if we'll be able to one-shot it. Altaria is obviously faster than Little Ralts and uses Earthquake, which the little thing tanks pretty well before replying with Thunderbolt. I could have gone with Psychic, but considering the damage ranges, it may have just put it into Winona's healing range. With just the Berry and Altaria choosing to use Dragon Dance its next turn, we're able to easily KO it with another Thunderbolt. Now, Tate and Liza, this was an ordeal. In theory, it shouldn't be too bad, right? We naturally resist Psychic, we have Calm Mind, so we'll be easily able to build up our defenses. I even picked up Shadow Ball so we can output some decent damage against them. I could not have been more wrong, and there were a number of stupid mistakes that I made. We first tried the battle at level 50. First things first, when you enter a double battle and your ability is Trace, you have what I assume is a 50% chance of tracing either one of the opponent's abilities. For this battle, we have to trace Levitate. We can't do it without that. So that means before we even attack, we have to keep resetting the battle until that happens. The other problem we have is how to handle Claydol and Xatu. Aside from knocking out whatever other Pokemon you brought into battle, Xatu likes to continually set up Calm Mind. It is more than happy to keep doing that. Claydol, on the other hand, now that it can't use Earthquake, will typically go for Ancient Power or Psychic. Both moves are bad. Ancient Power, because if it gets that boost, then you might as well just reset. You're not taking it down. Psychic's bad because it has a chance to lower your special defense. Out of the 2 moves, we'd rather Claydol use Psychic, but that's like saying I'd rather get slapped across the face than kicked in the nuts. And we've not even talked about how we're supposed to attack. In the beginning, I was very much on the side of let's just set up a couple of Calm Minds and see how it goes. Badly is how it goes. At our current level, Ancient Power is just doing too much damage. Remember, we have 2 other Pokemon, Solrock and Lunatone, to deal with. We can't be on too low health, and the longer we keep Xatu alive, the harder it's going to be to knock out because we've really only got special attack. But I said we had Shadow. Easy, right? Well, even though I was raising my special attack, Shadow Ball on Claydol didn't seem to be doing much damage. Maybe because on its second turn, it'll always set up a light screen. Or maybe, as I found out far too late, Shadow Ball is a special move in this gen, but it's a physical attack. Too much Gen 2. So, of course, Calm Mind won't boost its output, and our attack stat is so pathetic, the move is ultimately useless. I tried this battle at level 50 for probably half an hour. It wasn't working. We've got to level up. No choice. So I go do that. And I grab some rare candies too. Leveling up is painful. Anyway, in between my fails at level 55, I did entertain a few other movesets. I thought about Mimic. If we had that, we can mimic Xatu's Confuse Ray. Of course, it would have to use Confuse Ray first. I could mimic Ancient Power. It would be effective against Xatu and maybe I'd get the boost. Again, it felt like too much of a gamble. I could relearn Hypnosis, but that didn't feel right. It'd just make it all too easy. If it was possible to do this battle through leveling up some more and trying to be as efficient with our timings as possible, then I'd rather we do that. So I level up to 60 instead. At this level, we are able to one-shot Xatu if the range is good. Problem here is that when Solrock is sent out, it'll prefer attacking than simply raising its stat, and it can output some damage, so that's not really great either. At one point, I wanted to decrease some of the damage from Ancient Power, so I go Fleck. Another mistake, Ancient Power, while doing contact damage I forgot, is a special attack, so that was pointless. Later, I go with Light Screen because I'm hoping that combined with Calm Mind, it should really lower the damage Ralts is taking. Didn't really work out. The only positive thing from being level 60 and above is that we now outspeed the Claydol, but not the Xatu. Events are still conspiring against us though. Even at level 65, it's not happening. Our HP pool is just far too low to survive, and for an attacking move, we can only rely on Psychic because it'll technically do more damage than Shadow Ball ever will. I came close to totally redoing Ralts' EVs at this point. At level 65, it seemed like it was possible. I just had to find the key to unlock the battle. I came close one time. The battle started with Ralts tracing Levitate. We then go for Calm Mind while Wingull is knocked out. We take an Ancient Power, which thankfully doesn't get the boost. Ralts will simply keep going for Calm Mind. Claydol, turn 2, will always go for Light Screen, which is a massive headache because it's even tougher to knock out, and it has really high defenses anyway. Ideally, we'd be setting up 6 Calm Minds, but I'd been using the half HP mark as the limit for when we should start attacking. The plan was usually to take out Xatu because Claydol is too bulky with Light Screen. The problem here is that all those Calm Minds that Xatu's been using have allowed it to tank a Thunderbolt, so we're really opening ourselves up for a free hit. I was expecting the Hyper Potion on Xatu, but I wasn't expecting us to get a crit on the Claydol and one-shot it. That means that Solrock's out next, and Solrock will always want to set up Sunny Day on its first turn if Xatu hasn't already. If Thunderbolt is a range and we knock it out, we maybe have a chance. Thunderbolt is a range and KOs Xatu. Solrock goes for Sunny Day, we outspeed Solrock, and even though it's not effective, it's a KO. But yeah, Lunatone uses Psychic, and that's it. So, one of the issues here is that we have to be able to one-shot Lunatone and Solrock because they're berries and will often hang on long enough for Tate and Liza to use a potion on them, prolonging the battle even further. We could have won if only we'd had more health. Obviously, we can't get leftovers and haven't bothered getting the Shell Bell yet. In retrospect, that would have been a good call. However, there was one more thing I could do that was relatively simple: equip a Citrus Berry. So literally in the next battle, I equip a Citrus Berry. Obviously, we've traced Levitate. We take the same approach as last time, just keep using Calm Minds and hoping we don't take too much damage. Claydol leans on Psychic a little more in this battle, which works out well for us. When we cross that half HP threshold, it's time to attack. Our Citrus Berry activates and we gain some HP back. Instead of Xatu, this time I target Claydol instead. Unsurprisingly, with the Light Screen up, it is not a one-shot. We do tank another Psychic and can then knock Claydol out. Now, because I know Solrock is out next and I have a feeling that Xatu will go for Sunny Day, I decide to target Xatu next. It pays off. Xatu uses Sunny Day, we use Thunderbolt, and make the range. Thanks to the berry, we're on good HP. I know we'll outspeed both Pokemon, but Solrock has better moves and the chance to burn us. I use Psychic, but we make the range, and we do. Lunatone, instead of attacking, goes for Calm Mind. I don't know if Psychic will be an OHKO though. Turns out, nope, it ain't. But it's done just the right amount of damage so that the berry kicks in and precludes that potion heal. Lunatone then uses Light Screen. Okay, I don't know if we'll KO it now, and we don't. That heal is definitely on the way now, but Lunatone then uses Hypnosis and it hits, and we're asleep. That's it, no chance we're coming back. And yep, there's the Hyper Potion taking Lunatone to full HP. We're still asleep and take another Psychic, but then we wake up. Psychic now just doesn't do over half. There's another Calm Mind from Lunatone, but Light Screen does end up wearing off. We take Lunatone into Red Bar, it goes for Hypnosis again, misses. We just need to land one more attack, and there's the other Hyper Potion. But when we use Psychic, it now does over half damage. Now we just have to pray we don't get put to sleep, and we don't because we outspeed and get 2 hits in. There's Psychic and a crit, and it's up. Man, what an annoying battle. I can't stop thinking about how the Shell Bell really would have helped us out there, but that one's on me. So, with Juan, we actually have a bit of a reprieve until the Elite Four anyway. Because of our current level, along with Thunderbolt and Calm Mind, I'm not anticipating Juan to give us too much trouble. By the time we finish with all the Team Magma and Aqua nonsense, we're only at level 66. That slow level up group really hits hard later on. We're best setting up on Love Disc. While it is annoying, it can't use Attract, but it will use Sweet Kiss to confuse us. That's why I have the Person Berry equipped. After one Calm Mind, we just switch to Thunderbolt to take it out. Cordon could be a problem if we let it, so it's best just to use another Thunderbolt to knock it out as quickly as possible. Thankfully, we do outspeed it. For Whiscash, we can't rely on Thunderbolt, so we have to go with Psychic instead. Unfortunately, without another Calm Mind, we just don't quite do enough. I'm expecting the potion from Juan, and the Whiscash using Amnesia isn't great. When we next use Psychic, it does just over half. Thankfully, we make the ranges, and in the end, it's a 2-shot. Against the Celio, I was debating whether to get in another Calm Mind for Kingdra, I decided against it because I didn't think another would be enough to one-shot it, and I had more chance of taking it into healing range. When Kingdra comes out, it's faster than us and uses Ice Beam, but it's pretty ineffective. While our Thunderbolt does just the right amount of damage, the next turn, Kingdra goes for rest. And because it has a Chesto Berry, it wakes right up. Ultimately though, it's not going to be enough, and while we do get into a bit of a rest loop for a few turns, it's not enough to stop us from KOing it in the end. So Juan ended up being much easier than Tate and Liza. If that's how the battle goes against water types, surely we'll have no problem destroying Wallace. Maybe not. Before worrying about the champion, a much scarier trainer is in fact Sydney of the Elite Four. Way back in the beginning of the game and throughout, we have struggled when it comes to dark type Pokemon because we don't have any decent moves against him, and that really hasn't changed. What makes Sydney a big pain in the ass is that Pokemon like Shiftry and Cacturne, outside of their annoying movesets, will resist all our moves. I personally attempt Sydney at our current level of 69, nice. I've equipped the Persiberry in an attempt to get ahead of Swagger if we run into it. But honestly, Swagger is the least of our problem. The Mightyena is our first hurdle. Even if we disregard Sand Attack lowering our accuracy, it also has Crunch, which will do well over half damage to Ralts. And because Mightyena has Sand Attack, it will happily spam that move again and again while we try to set up Calm Mind. It doesn't matter if our special attack is through the roof, if the opponent's Pokemon can sit there using Double Team and chipping away at our limited health. Getting past Mightyena is possible, but our accuracy will have suffered a lot in the process. Then when you're up against Shiftry, it'll always go for Double Team until you can barely touch it. And while it really can't damage us, Shiftry has no issue just plugging away. Even when we make it past Shiftry to Cacturne, it'll often firstly lower our speed, which we can't have happen, or it'll use Leech Seed, screwing up all our ranges. Right now, there is no way we're getting past Sydney. His Pokemon can both troll us and just outlast us without issue. The funny thing is, I'm not honestly too worried about Phoebe or Glacier because we actually have some good answers to their typings and moves, but our level just isn't cutting it against Sydney, and if I'm being honest, I don't think it'll cut it against Drake or Wallace right now. So I leveled up to 79. I basically fought everyone there is to fight in the world, and I've used all of my rare candies. Going beyond this level would be a chore to say the least, but I'm feeling that there's a way through. Along with the level increase, I also finally grabbed the Shell Bell. While not as good as Leftovers, the Shell Bell will restore 1/8 of the damage dealt. Because we're pretty weak defensively, but can output some decent damage, it's the best kind of healing we're ever going to get. So at level 79, I start trying Sydney again. Ultimately, this battle isn't a sure thing, and it never will be. When you're dealing with accuracy lowering moves and statuses in general, so much ends up just being down to luck. It's easy to focus on a bunch of stuff we don't want to happen in the battle against Sydney. For Mightyena, we can survive just one Sand Attack. Any more than that, then you're basically unable to hit Shiftry. And if you can't hit Shiftry, you'll get Torment used against you. Torment is an automatic reset. By not being able to use your most effective moves, we're opening up Ralts to take more damage or drag the battle out. That means when it comes to facing Cacturne, you're going to get Leech Seed and Cotton Spore. Leech Seed we can deal with because we'll at least get some HP back from the Shell Bell, but if you get Cotton Spore, your speed's too low, which means when a Pokemon like Groudon comes out, it'll outspeed and use Strength, and because our HP is being chipped away, it's a KO. On the occasion, you can get past with more HP because you've set up more Calm Minds against Mightyena but suffered Sand Attack, you're allowing Groudon to set up Sword Stance, and while you're failing to hit it, it will then knock you out easily. Yeah, so battling Sydney is basically a big list of stuff we don't want to happen. We can, however, get some consistency in battle. A successful battle, and I use that term very loosely, goes like this. At the start of the battle, we use Thunderbolt. It won't KO, but that's fine. We'll take a Sand Attack. But now Sydney will want to heal Mightyena, giving us 2 moves. On the first, we'll set up Calm Mind. On the second, we'll use Thunderbolt. It now makes the range. Next, Shiftry will come out. We can't have it use Torment, but Shiftry will always want to pop off as many double teams as possible when starting the fight. This lets us set up one more Calm Mind for our first move. We then have to hit with Thunderbolt, which is honestly worse than a coin toss. On the second turn, we want it to use Double Team again. This time, it does. And this time, we somehow hit with another Thunderbolt, which is rare, and it's knocked out. But next there's Cacturne. We do not want Cotton Spore. While our Thunderbolt does decent damage, there's Cotton Spore. I just hope Groudon wants to go for Sword Stance first. Then, because Cacturne is now quicker, it uses Feint Attack, which is a little preferable compared to Leech Seed, I suppose, but we can then finish it off. Shell Bell restores our HP a little bit. 112 may or may not be enough. Groudon's out. It's going to outspeed Sword Stance. That's what we want to see. As long as we don't miss with Thunderbolt, and we don't. Okay, just the Ace Absol remaining. I rarely get to this thing, but like Crawdon, it likes to go for Sword Stance. Don't know if Thunderbolt is enough for a one-shot though. No Sword Stance but Slash, no crit this time. Is Thunderbolt enough? Yes. And that is how battles with Sydney go, when they go well, which ain't often. Phoebe should be renamed to Freebie where Ralts is involved. There is very little to worry about with her. We've got Psychic to just carry us through. Her first Dusclops can often be an issue if you can't OHKO it, but because it loves to use Protect first, we've got the perfect opportunity to use a Calm Mind. Then, regardless if it uses Protect next turn, it never really did, we'll one-shot, and we don't give it the opportunity to use Curse either. Next, we'll get Burnett. We have Psychic and both Burnett are unable to outspeed us. All we have to do is simply use Psychic twice to defeat them both. However, Phoebe's level 51 Dusclop can be a bit of an issue. It's bulkier than a first, so can withstand a Psychic, leaving it on just a sliver of health. On its turn, it'll use Shadow Ball. If this crits or lowers special defense, it can be bad news. Thankfully, it doesn't this time, and we eventually KO it. For Sableye, we have to use Thunderbolt because Psychic just won't work. At this level, and with Calm Mind, we can comfortably knock it out, and that is Phoebe. Never really a problem. Glacier isn't as free as Phoebe, maybe just discounted a bit, and it just took a couple of tries to determine just how many Calm Minds we need to use and on which specific Pokemon, so that we can avoid taking too much damage. Celio's usually your best bet. It likes to go for Hail turn 1, and then would generally use Body Slam after that. In the beginning, I was just going for 2 Calm Minds because I didn't want to take too much damage from Body Slam or risk getting paralyzed. Turns out that it's not enough, because with just 2, you're not reliably one-shotting the level 50 Glalie. Though it'll often use Icy Wind, it tends to use Explosion, and that will absolutely destroy Ralts. Even if we make it past the first Glalie, we're not OHKOing the second one, and our speed is lowered, meaning Glalie now outspeeds us. While it likes setting up Hail if it's expired, ain't afraid of using Explosion or Crunch, which are devastating. It also has Shadow Ball if that's not enough. We simply have to set up 3 Calm Minds to deal with Glacier's team, and the only Pokemon we can do this on is Celio. We just have to risk the damage and potential paralysis of Body Slam if we want to make it through the entire battle. So that's exactly what we do. We set up Calm Mind, tank the Body Slams, and thankfully don't get paralyzed. At 54 HP, we're through to Glalie number 1. We take the Hail chip damage but do outspeed Glalie. The one shot allows us to take back a decent bit of HP too. Theory, it shouldn't matter because we can now clean house with the rest of our Pokemon. The level 52 Glalie is now one shot, and when she brings out another Celio, it goes down just as quick. Finally, that big and bulky Wall Rain is no match for Ralts' Thunderbolt. So, Ralts ain't doing too bad so far, right? 2 trainers left, let's see how we do. In the first battle with Drake, we know the game plan for his Shelgon. 90% of the time, it's going for Protect first turn, which means we're going to set up that Calm Mind. I get greedy and go for another Calm Mind, and Shelgon's Rock Tomb ends up missing. Pretty lucky. Okay, our Psychic should absolutely knock it out, and it does. Okay, Flygon's up next. Thunderbolt ain't gonna work, so we're gonna use Psychic, and of course, it's gonna outspeed. Earthquake does a ton of damage. Even though Psychic is capable of knocking it out, and we can recoup a good bit of health, things are not looking great. 78 HP for Salamence. I deliberate for a second before going with Psychic. It outspeeds, we tank the Crunch. Psychic ends up knocking it out. Okay, 44 HP against Altaria. Not sure how it's gonna go. I go for Thunderbolt, should have been Psychic, but hey ho, don't matter. It uses Double Edge, and we're down. Where do we even start with a battle like that? The first thing is probably saving in front of Drake, because we are never going to be able to get through the Elite Four and the Champion in one clean run anyway. Ralts just doesn't have the fortitude to do that. If we level to 100 maybe, but leveling up would take, it would be long. But I have a feeling there's a bit of light at the end of the tunnel. Let's first tackle Shelgon. As we said, 90% of the time, it's going to go for Protect. At least we can get 1 Calm Mind off. However, we really need that second Calm Mind. We also can't take a hit from Shelgon. Not only will our speed be lowered, but it'll mean we can't survive both Earthquake and an attack from Salamence. With just 1 Calm Mind, while we can knock out the Flygon and tank the Earthquake, and we can even tank a Crunch from Salamence, Psychic won't knock it out. Then Salamence will knock us out next turn. We need some way to be able to get in front of that damage, and I kept battling again and again. The furthest I would ever get was to Altaria. More often than not, Ralts would be in red bar, Altaria's faster, so it's just an automatic KO. On one occasion, we get the rare 2-turn Protect from Shelgon, allowing us to set up those 2 valuable Calm Minds. When Flygon comes out, we go first. Quick Claw making a return from Watson. We are now ready to face Salamence on full HP. something we have not managed yet. Against Salamence, we don't get the Quick Claw activation, but we do get the Rock Slide miss. With 2 Calm Minds, Psychic is now a guaranteed OHKO. Full health against Altaria, haven't seen that yet either. I go for Thunderbolt and we get a Quick Claw too. Crazy. I don't think Psychic would have made the range if I'd used it there. Double Edge doesn't do a ton of damage surprisingly, but Drake then uses the full restore as we line up Psychic. But it turns out a turn later, Psychic is a one-shot, but we're on to Kingdra now. I go with Thunderbolt again, probably should have stuck with Psychic. Anyway, Kingdra ends up getting healed by Drake. We pay for it with a Body Slam and it leaves us on 36 HP. But we will be able to knock it out with our next attack. We get off pretty lucky there, but I will take anything we can get in this run. Now we have just the champion remaining on the surface. We're at a really good advantage. Something just feels a little off though. Like, it looks to be just a little too easy, but we're at level 80. I'm not going to level up anymore. It's now or never for little Wally. Wallace will send out the Wailord first as is tradition. It can do a fair bit of damage to us. I go for Thunderbolt right off the bat. Not doing enough to KO Wailord though. It then uses Rain Dance, which it tends to do turn 1, anticipating the heal. I next use a Calm Mind. With the boost, the next time we use Thunderbolt, it will be a one-shot. Wallace then sends out Tentacruel. It is defensively bulky, so I am not confident we can knock it out in just one turn. Not only that, it outspeeds us and uses Hydro Pump, which is boosted by the rain, and it does a boatload of damage. But Psychic is able to one-shot it and we can regain some health with Shell Bell. Ludicolo's up next. It's raining, it has Swift Swim, we are not outspeeding it. It uses Surf and that's okay. But we never expected a first try. Through going through this battle multiple times, I started to learn a few things. For Wailord, it won't always go for Rain Dance, and what Pokemon after Wailord does is dictated by Rain Dance. However, we don't really want Wailord to use Water Spout, Double Edge or Blizzard because they do a bunch of damage. If we're talking about Tentacruel, we've seen that it can be one-shot by Psychic. Problem is, it's quicker than us and often likes to use Toxic. If it hits us with Toxic, while we can get past it to Ludicolo, it's not looking great. With Swift Swim, Ludicolo likes to use Double Team. Normally we'll outspeed it, but it'll be a 2-shot. In this time, we're taking that ever-increasing tick damage from Toxic. The HP we do gain back from damaging it just isn't enough to keep pace though. So even if we get to Whiscash, as we saw with Juan, that thing is bulky and it has Earthquake, so it'll absolutely knock us out. Basically, we don't want Rain Dance or Toxic. If we don't get either of those things, there's a good chance we can make it to Whiscash in better shape and potentially knock it out. Against Wailord, we immediately go for Thunderbolt. We know it's not going to knock it out, but we don't want that. But then Wailord uses Blizzard and misses. This means we shouldn't see Rain Dance, so we can set up a Calm Mind. Once that's done, we know Thunderbolt will do the rest. However, this time I just keep going for Calm Mind because why not? We do take a fair bit of damage and even get Rain Dance, but I'm still experimenting so it's fine. We eventually knock out Wailord and get some HP back, but Tentacruel's still up next. I expect the Toxic and I'm not disappointed. We're poisoned, but we can knock Tentacruel out with one Psychic. At 133 HP, the plan is to use our Calm Minds to simply sweep through the remainder of Wallace's Pokemon and effectively outpace the Toxic damage. It worked for Ludicolo. Will it work for Whiscash? We use Psychic and it certainly does. Even though Toxic's been ticking away, we're on 125 HP for Gyarados. The first time I've seen it, Thunderbolt should easily OHKO, but we will take damage first. Earthquake does a ton of damage, leaving us on 39 HP, but we will get some back and it should be enough to survive until Wallace's final Pokemon. We're on 64 HP with the level up, and there's just Milotic left. Poison takes us down to 28. Do we outspeed Milotic? Nope, and it uses Surf. I guess we now know we'll have to be on more HP for that Milotic, but we were close. This is definitely possible. Okay, so we're up against Wailord again. Same as before. Start with Thunderbolt. We get Water Spout, great. It hardly does anything. We know the heal's coming. And set up Calm Mind. Or not. I go for Secret Power. Why? Indoors, it'll often have a chance to paralyze. And what do you know? We get it. And now we're going to set up. It's a risky plan, and a Water Spout takes us to 51 HP, but I just keep going for it. Wailord's not paralyzed next turn, but we get the Blizzard miss. Yad. We still keep setting up Calm Mind. Wailord then gets paralyzed the next turn. I debate whether to go for another Calm Mind, and we do. We're rewarded with another paralysis. Okay, we could use Thunderbolt now. We're not going to be at full HP, but it should be okay. But Tentacruel's coming out. If we get hit with Toxic, it's a reset. Can't survive at this HP. Tentacruel goes for Toxic, misses, This is the best luck we have had so far. Our Psychic knocks it out and we gain back even more health. No Rain Dance means that Ludicolo won't outspeed, and our special attack is so high that we can just easily one-shot it, and we recoup even more HP. Well, Whiscash is up next. Can we get back some more? Psychic again. Another Oko. We are practically a full HP for the Gyarados. No way we're outspeeding it, but we should tank the Earthquake at 68 HP. We do. Thunderbolt's gonna knock it out. 91 to 93 HP after the level up. Will it be enough to tank a Surf from Milotic? Let's find out. Or maybe we won't find out because Milotic uses Toxic instead. It hits, but surely it's not going to matter now, right? Ralts uses Thunderbolt. It's super effective. Milotic's down. Little Wally has done it, and we are the champions. Well, I'm surprised that Ralts managed to go all the way. Its stats are pretty abysmal. I thought at one point we'd be going all the way to level 100, and if we'd done that, these battles would have been a lot more consistent, if less fun. The funny thing was, the battles where we technically had a type advantage, or were at least on neutral ground, ended up being the toughest out of the bunch, aside from how much of a pain Sydney was. But hey, maybe you'd have a better plan to deal with some of those battles. Feel free to let me know. If you have an idea about an interesting run in the same style, let me know. And if you want to like and subscribe, go for it. Until next time, have a good one.